Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show NFL edition on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks with my main man, Antoine, Real Stewart, and my nephew, Caleb Lopes. What's up, guys? What's happening?
What's up?
What's up? What's up, fellas?
Well, as a lot is up in the NFL. This is a surprising week that we have to break down from last and going into the new week. And Stu, I know you have some choice words. I can't wait to hear your thoughts about what went down. But we're going to start we're going to go all the way back to week 6 that kicked off on Thursday night of last week, where the Chiefs defeated the Denver Broncos 19-8. I'm going to tell you, I'm starting to. The way the Eagles went down is kind of like you saw the way they were playing, that they were set up to probably lose a game. The Chiefs strike me as a team that's getting ready to lose a game coming up here very soon to maybe a team you don't expect. Stu, your thoughts on that?
It could definitely happen. The Chiefs seem like they're kind of struggling with teams they should be beating, but again, they're getting it done. And we know once they get firing on all cylinders that they will be a tough team to beat. It's still early. Right now, when you're the big dog, when you're the defending Super Bowl champion, you're going to get everyone's best shot. So right now they're just hanging on until they get in their groove, probably later on November, December.
Caleb, your thoughts about the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I feel like they're not playing to their full extent yet. They're kind of playing down to their opponent's level, but they're still getting it done. They're winning their games. They haven't lost since opening night. So I feel like as long as they keep winning, but eventually they'll get in their groove and they'll see more of like the Chiefs that we all know that are a great team.
So the Baltimore Ravens go over to London and they take care of the Tennessee Titans 24-16. The Washington Commanders got back on the winning side of things with a 24-16 win in Atlanta over the Falcons. The Vikings over the Bears 19-13. Justin Fields got injured in that game. He was not able to finish, which was the last thing Chicago needed. Seattle gets handled by the Bengals. The Bengals are a team that's starting to slowly come back to the kind of team that we thought they might be. But one of the stunners of the weekend was the San Francisco 49ers going to Cleveland and losing 19-17. Stu, I give you the stage, sir.
Oh yeah, it was one of those games. I knew Cleveland. I think they have the number 1 defense right now, even though a lot of people say we do. We have the number 2 defense. I knew it was going to be one of those dog fights. Before the game started, it got real chippy. People started pushing and shoving before the game. And, to make no excuses, we had some injuries early. Debo went out early. Christian McCaffrey, he went out, and left tackle Trent Williams went out for a little bit, ended up getting his ankles wrapped up, came back in. Brock Purdy didn't play his best game, and as a whole, we didn't play our best game, and we still should have won the game. Our rookie field goal kicker missed the game-winning field goal. He missed 2 field goals that game, and that's unacceptable, but, it's happening early. Hopefully he gets those jitters out now, because we don't need that come playoffs for him being a rookie. I know Robbie Gould is still available. He was our kicker for a while, and hopefully we can get him back. But until then, we got to go with the rookie. To make no excuses, man, you got to get it done. We failed to get it done, and that's what happens when you fail to get it done.
Caleb, your thoughts on the stunner in Cleveland?
Yeah, it was very hard fought game by Cleveland. Props to them going out there and beating a really great team, the 49ers. But then again, the 49ers, they didn't play their best football. Like you said, Stu, they had some injuries. all throughout the game, and I feel like the Browns got a little bit lucky. Things kind of tilted to their side, and they took the opportunity and went out there and won that game. But the 49ers are still a great team, and they'll get back at it this week.
I'll say this, even if the 49ers had made that 41-yard field goal attempt to win it, I didn't expect to see that. The Cleveland Browns are playing without Deshaun Watson. You've got a backup that's in there on a team that just doesn't play particularly well without Deshaun. You don't have Nick Chubb. And you just figured the 49ers was just going to go in there and rearrange their furniture. And it didn't happen. And I was really shocked. And I know, Stu, you said they Debo Samuels went out, Christian McCaffrey went out, Trent Williams got injured, and you had a rookie kicker. Well, the only thing I can say to that is I don't want to hear it. Because look, let me tell you something. When you go to Cleveland and they don't have their people and you're supposed to be the best team in football, you win that game. And I was shocked. I could not believe the 49ers went down there to Cleveland and just fell on their face. Couldn't believe it. And I think that also a little bit of poetic justice, and I'm almost done, Stu, a little bit of poetic justice came into play because of all that trash talking that George Kittles was doing. And I said it last week. I said, hey, they need to turn the trash talk down a little bit. And sure enough, they went down to Cleveland and they got beat by a team they shouldn't have lost to. But anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. We'll come back to that a little bit later. I want to keep rolling down with these scores. Let's see. The Panthers were walloped by the Miami Dolphins, as we expected, 42-21. The Jacksonville Jaguars go down actually they destroyed the Colts 37-20. Anthony Richardson, their quarterback, apparently out for the season. The Houston Texans 20-13 over the Saints as the Texans go trucking along at 3-3. Not a bad ball club. The Raiders 21-17 over the Patriots. I've got some thoughts about Bill Belichick I'd like to discuss a little bit later. The Rams annihilate the Cardinals 26-9. The Jets, in another stunner of the weekend, 20-14 over the once undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Stu, your thoughts on this one?
Another hard fought game. The Jets have a top 5 defense as well, and we all have acknowledged that Philly is not playing their best ball, and you go against a Jets team that's motivated, and you can get beat. Again, this is the National Football League. At any given Sunday, anybody can get beat. There are not too many teams that went 16 or 17-0. Everyone usually gets a loss somewhere, and it just happened. And I was quite happy it happened because, when you're talking about that number one spot, this would have put Philly above us if they would have won. So that we both lost, we're both even again at 5-1. So it was one of those games. Jalen Hurts and team, they got to figure it out. They played a tough team. And when you are the big dogs on the block, you will get everyone's best shot. Everyone wants to knock you off. And it happened that Sunday.
There's no doubt about it. Caleb, your thoughts on this stunner?
Yeah, the Eagles, they haven't been playing very great football. I think it caught up to them.
Yeah.
The Jets, they're not too bad of a team. They have a good defense. Their offense shouldn't the but no doubt the Eagles should be able to go into this game. They should be able to win. But it, like you said, it's a week to week league. If you don't come in playing hard nosed football and uh, playing good football, any team can sneak up and win against you. And it is what it is. And they just gotta get back into their rhythm.
Well, they do. And there's a lot of football left, so it's certainly not a time to hit a panic button for any of the big dogs in the NFL. these things happen. The Lions 20-6 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bills in a very ugly, lethargic win over the Giants 14-9. And then last night on Monday Night Football, we had the Dallas Cowboys defeating the LA Chargers 20-17, which leads us into our NFL headline segment, because you look at that game last night and you look at Justin Herbert, who was paid $262 million. And I had a chance to really take a good look at Justin Herbert. And I thought, wow, this guy is missing open targets. Heck, he threw the game-winning pick for the Cowboys at the end. And it leads me to this question. Did the Chargers, Stu, overpay Justin Herbert, or does Brandon Staley, the head coach, have to take the blame for the miscues of the LA Chargers?
I don't think he overpaid him or anything like that. But also, I think that the quarterback has to take some responsibility for his miscues and throwing picks and, missing wide open receivers. We know the talent Hubert has, but, that's a day in and day out thing. You got to go in there and you got to put it on tape. You can have a great game and throw for 500 yards one day, and the next day you can throw for 200 yards with a pick.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that a lot of these teams have to do is try to establish the run to take some of the responsibility, some of the pressure off of these quarterbacks, no matter how talented they are. Even Josh Allen, I think we see the talent these guys have, and it's like you got a new toy and you want to play with it, but you got to understand that it's a clock game, running the ball, having your defense get rest and not quick 3 and outs. And it's a lot of things that go into a football game, and you have to be a master at managing the game and executing your game plan.
Caleb, your thoughts?
Yeah, Justin Herbert, he's a very talented quarterback. He's a great he's great. He's a good quarterback. They definitely didn't overpay him. He needs to get some things together. He missed quite a few open balls, touchdown balls to Keenan Allen yesterday night or on Monday night. But then again, Brandon Staley, he's definitely not a great coach. And he's not a great play caller. They haven't really been able to win too much with him. And I feel like it's a two-way street. Justin Herbert has to take some blame, but so does Brandon Staley. He's messing some stuff up for the Chargers.
Well, I look at, first of all, that, and everyone, I'm in Austin, Texas, so the state's going, we're going to the Super Bowl stuff with the Dallas Cowboys. Let me just say it. Let me just say this right now. That was a trashy win by the Cowboys, because they really should have lost the ball game. And there was a ton of mistakes made on both sides. And I said last week, the Chargers make a ton of mistakes, and that's exactly what they did on Monday night. And I just think Justin Herbert now, to your point, Caleb, is now starting to become a guy that you have to start looking at, as well as Brandon Staley. Yeah. Justin Herbert misses targets. He looks good. He's got a great arm, but he does miss his guy. I mean, wide open throws, and they will sail on him, and he'll throw a pick too in a minute. So it's not all Brandon Staley. And I think collectively as a group, the Chargers have some things that they're just going to have to get to the down and dirty on and improve upon. And quite frankly and honestly, as I mentioned, Brandon Staley, if that doesn't happen, he may be gone, because I don't think the Charger front office is going to sit up there and continue to watch this futility with the kind of money they paid Justin Herbert. I just can't imagine that Brandon Staley would keep his job if this continues. You're not gonna do anything about Justin Herbert. You've invested into Justin Herbert, and the guy's young, so he's gonna get better. That's why I don't want to blame it all on Staley. He's gonna have to come up with a better game plan. But that being said, the Cowboy fans in the state of Texas are screaming, "We're going to the Super Bowl! Stop it!" All right, let's go on. The next topic is, what did we learn about the 49ers and the Eagles this weekend, Stu?
I think I mean, I didn't really learn much. For me, I think the world learned that this is the National Football League, and like I've said before, any given Sunday, anybody can get beat. You
Yes.
know, I'm not with no excuses with injuries. They happen. You know, bad calls with the ref. They happen. You still got to figure out how to get it done. I believe we could have got it done. We missed a field goal. You know, and it happens.
Yeah.
You know, you never wanted to be that close of a game with a team like that, but you never know what team is going to have your number that day or who's going to get up for you. And you know, it was wet out there. It was rainy. It was that type of game, a dog fight, and we were in the dog stadium, and we took a loss. So we got to bounce back, regroup. I'd rather it happen early than later. I think Philly feels the same. You know, if you're going to take a loss, let it happen early, learn from it, get it out your system so that when November, December comes, we can go on the streak. It's just one of those things where you got to understand that and anybody can get beat any given Sunday.
No doubt about that. Caleb, your thoughts about the 49ers and Eagles. What did we learn?
Yeah, it's a week by week league. Like you said, Stu, anybody can beat anybody. You have to go out there, play hard nosed football. But I feel like this is gonna teach the Eagles a little bit of lesson. They're not gonna I think they're gonna start playing their kind of football. They're gonna not take teams so lightly anymore. And I feel like that's gonna be good for them. That's gonna put put more of a presence in the league for them because they haven't really been winning by too much. They start coming out, putting more points on the board. It'll really show that they're they're big time, and like we were seeing last year. And the 49ers also, they went out, they lost. It's not too big of a deal. We're still early in the season. Like you said, Sue, it's better now than later. So uh it's week by week. You gotta go out and play football.
Well, I'm going to tell you, well, a very good point, Caleb. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm glad that I was able to look at this through a different lens because I had proclaimed the San Francisco 49ers as the best team at football just a week ago. And the fact that, yes, Debo Samuel got hurt. Yes, Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Yes, Trent Williams got hurt. Yes, they were dealing with a rookie kicker, but I expected them to play better football than that. And Brock Purdy did not play particularly well himself. I think that's the first poor performance I've seen from Brock since he's been the starter. And injuries do play a role in this game. And we got a lot of football left. I did say last year going into this season that they must protect Brock Purdy. Well, they've done a pretty good job up to this point, but Myles Garrett was on him, dog. Myles Garrett and that front four, they were on him, bro. And he got a little skittery back there. He was a little, jumpy, and he saw a ghost, and balls were sailing over open receivers' heads. And I didn't see that calm Brock Purdy that I'm used to looking at. I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and I go, they've been playing, like an average team all year. They've just been able to win. And they finally lost. And you looked at the Jets and their defense, they were all over Jalen Hurts. He wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable. He was being pressured out of the pocket and rushing throws. And so now you look at the 49ers and Eagles and you go, oh, they can be beaten. And they very well could be beaten. And there's so much football left. My view of the NFC, maybe even the NFL, has really kind of changed. It's like, this is just going to be an entertaining season. I don't want to jump out there and start making these proclamations about who's the best team in the league. Okay. I just think right now we don't know. And as I say that, it brings me to my next NFL headline point. And the question is, Are the Detroit Lions, Stu, the new big dogs?
Nah,
Oh, okay.
nah. Detroit is sitting at the table. They
Yeah.
definitely at the table. They've earned
Right.
that right. You
Yeah.
know, they've been playing some great football. Um, when you look at the strength of schedule, you know, they've been winning. You know, they got that first big win out the way with Kansas City, and they've
Yeah.
been doing what they're supposed to do. I don't sleep on them at all. I see that they're definitely in the conversation. They're on the boat, but I don't think they're driving the ship just yet. You know, I think that they're definitely one of those teams that you got to watch for and you got to circle in your calendar when you're playing them. But I don't think we play them this year, but we may see them in the playoffs. But I don't think they're the best in the league. But I think I definitely got to put them in the top 5 or the top 3 right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely would not sleep on the Detroit Lions, much like they put Baker Mayfield to sleep. Knocked him out. Anyway, Caleb, your thoughts. Are the Lions the new big dogs?
The Lions have been playing really great football, but like you were just saying, Maurice, it's like it's this season. It's gonna be really hard to name just one team that's gonna be super great or just number one in the league.
Yeah.
All these teams are playing pretty good football, and the Lions are one of them. And I mean, they're up there, like you guys said. They're sitting at the table, and you just gotta watch out for them.
I think you have to watch out for the Lions. They are emerging as an NFC power as they sit at 5-1, and they have to be taken seriously at this point. A lot of people want to write the Lions off because they've always lost. Do you realize the Detroit Lions have only won one playoff game in the last 55 years?
Mm.
So they've been doing a lot of losing. It's hard to look at them and take them seriously. But hey, they finished on a roll last year. They're 5-1 right now. And I think the Lions are a team that we're all going to have to take very seriously going forward. We got a lot of football left.
Yeah,
No proclamations here, but they are, I like what you said, Stu. They have a seat at the big boy table as
most
as
definitely.
we talk about it right now. I want to switch gears to another team that's at the big boy table that acts like maybe they want to give up their seat, but they're hanging on to it. What's going on with the Buffalo Bills offense with that lethargic win that they had over the Giants 14-9? Your thoughts on the Bills, Stu?
You know, they've been having those type of games, 4-2, those close wins. Then they have a game when they just look like all stars, like when they beat Miami. Then
Yeah.
they'll have a game like when a team like the Giants, who you think they're just going to steamroll, and the Giants actually give them, some competition.
Yeah.
They've definitely been kind of inconsistent, I would say, out of all the teams that are, in that upper echelon of teams. And Josh Allen, he had a poor performance. He was 19 for 30, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And they're very inconsistent. I think that they definitely, it's early, so I don't want to say too much. I want to give these teams the opportunity to get settled in to their mode, but they definitely need to get settled in quick because the AFC is not waiting up for them, and there are a lot of good teams over there. But yeah, keep your eyes out on the Buffalo Bills and see what happens during this next 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, they were one Tyrod Taylor missed throw from losing, and they were in Buffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Caleb, your thoughts on the Bills and their offense?
Sometimes the Bills can be that explosive, high power offense, uh, looking like they're world beaters. But some days they just don't come out and play football. They kind of do what the Eagles are doing. They play way down to their opponent's level, and eventually that's gonna catch up to them, just like it did to the Eagles, and they're gonna get beaten by one of these teams, just like what happened in Jacksonville, out in London with Jacksonville. And they got to get it together. They have a great offense. Josh Allen is a great quarterback, and they just they have to get it together. They're a good team, so I'm not putting any downplay on them just yet.
No, we definitely don't want to downplay them or write them off. It's listen, we just got beyond the first quarter of the season. A lot of football left to play. They are 4-2, but it's kind of an ugly 4-2. They're not playing the way that we expected them to play. I don't see the firepower that you expect to see from Buffalo, and we do remember the way they went out of the playoffs last year, getting really drilled by Cincinnati at home in the snow of all places. And so you just look at the Bills with the side eye and you just wonder if they're ever going to get things on track. But right now they're 4-2 and they have a seat at the big boy table, as, particularly in the AFC. So we will see what happens going forward. Uh, you talk about a big boy team, possibly in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys, all this talk. I'm in Austin, Texas, and everybody's saying we're going to the Super Bowl. Uh, after last night's win, which was a trashy one, after Monday night's win, which was a trashy one, 20-17 over the Chargers, can we close the book now on the beatdown from the 49ers and reconsider the Cowboys as a team that could be a contender? Stu.
Um, in my opinion, until they prove otherwise, they are who we thought they were.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. Okay.
You know, I don't care if they don't lose another game and they win the rest of their games outright. They got to play that same way in the postseason. The biggest knock on the Dallas Cowboys is they're a different team in the postseason. You can be regular season champions, but when the playoffs comes and you don't show up, that's a problem. You know, great teams
Problem.
show up in the brightest lights, and they have yet to do that. And Dak Prescott has yet to prove that the moment is not too big for him. And that's that. I think last week you had people that were like, man, this 49ers Cowboys game felt like a playoff game. The atmosphere felt like a playoff atmosphere.
It did.
The
It did.
lights were the brightest. And what
Yeah.
happened? You know, he didn't show up on a little game where, you know, it was prime time and nobody's expecting much from them. And they scraped by with a win of, 20-17. That doesn't impress me with them. Um, what impresses me is them getting it done in the postseason. So I think that's going to be their biggest test moving forward as they build that confidence up and try to get wins when it matters the most in the playoffs.
Caleb, your thoughts on the Cowboys defeating the Chargers and hey, let's forget about what happened with the 49er game. The Cowboys are back in the contending spot. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think they should close the book on a beating that bad. They
Yeah.
should use that as fuel. They should use that as okay, let's use this, let's learn from our mistakes and let's not let that happen again.
Right.
And uh I feel like until like you said, until they prove that they're not gonna let that happen again, it's gonna be lingering back there. It's gonna be in the back of everybody's minds, and they just have to prove it to us that they can go out and play and beat a team when the lights are shining the brightest.
Well, I heard the people over at the Dorito potato chip company have decided to come on back out with the Nacho Year chip. Look. Let's keep this thing 100. The Dallas Cowboys are who we thought they were. Okay, they beat a mistake riddled team in the LA Chargers, who's ranked 28th, by the way, in their secondary. And so Dak Prescott took advantage of that. Okay, he targeted CD Lamb like he was 9 of 10 with CD Lamb, and he ran a little bit more. But the
Yeah.
Chargers defense is nothing to write home to mom about. And it was an ugly win. They could have very well lost that ball game, and they came out the win. And no, they're not that team. I don't think very highly of the Cowboys, but I did say earlier this with the 49ers and the Browns, I'm sorry, the Eagles both losing, it just kind of made me think, if the Cowboys and I just don't believe in Dak Prescott when it gets hot in the kitchen. But I do believe the Cowboys' chances have improved to make a run as the season goes forward. But I'm not convinced that they're a Super Bowl team by any stretch of the imagination. I think they can make the playoffs, but I don't see anything particularly special about the Cowboys. I see the same Dak Prescott. I see the same mistakes being made, and there's some teams out there that have something for them without question. The last NFL headline that I want to bring up uh, are the New England Patriots. And they lose to the Raiders 21-17. Is it time for the Patriots to move on from Bill Belichick? Stu, your thoughts?
I don't think it's time to move on, but it's definitely, time for Bill Belichick to regroup, do some searching, looking at his coaching staff and everything. And that's the thing. When you've been a great coach for so long, y- you're gonna lose people. Kyle Shanahan loses people. Bill, arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, you're gonna lose people. And he has to find out a way to replace the people he lost. And I think that's what's been giving us our success lately. Because over the last, it's like every other year, we're losing the court. Josh McDaniels, he's the head coach of Miami. Our defensive coach is now the head coach of the Texans, and we keep losing people. But John Lynch and Shanahan are doing a great job at replacing those people, and I think that Bill Belichick has to do a better job at replacing those pieces that he's missing, that he loses those offensive coordinators, those defensive coordinators. And I think until he does that, he's going to find himself in the situation that he's in now. And as we all see, he needs a quarterback. Um, he's not it. Mac Jones is not the answer. I knew that before they drafted him. He came from an all-star roster. Alabama's roster was phenomenal to where he didn't have to do much to shine. And now he's in a league where everyone's great. And now you're finding out he's not who you thought he was. But I think that, with some soul searching and some reorganizing and regrouping, he may have to think outside the box and get creative with getting some college coaches in there, somebody with something fresh, something new to keep that thing going that he got down in New England.
Caleb, your thoughts on Bill Belichick moving on from New England?
Uh, I mean, yeah, Bill Belichick, he's a great coach. The Patriots, I don't think they'd want to get rid of him. Uh, but as you were saying, Stu, he hasn't been doing a great job at getting new pieces. Since Tom Brady really left, he hasn't been able to do much of anything. And I feel like that's why a lot of people are starting to doubt him a little bit because they're saying, oh, Tom Brady must have been the one doing all the work. But not really. Bill Belichick is a great coach. He needs to find some new people. Mac Jones is not the answer, as you said. They need to get a new quarterback. Uh, and Bill Belichick needs to surround himself with the right pieces, and then he can definitely start winning again.
Well, Bill Belichick right now is running the risk, if this continues, to be a guy who just happened to be coaching the greatest quarterback we've ever seen play the game. 10 trips to the Super Bowl, six Super Bowl wins with Tom Brady. And then Brady leaves and gets another Super Bowl. And so you look at what's been happening with the Patriots, and it's been pretty poor. And Mac Jones is not the answer. And he may have thought he could make a Tom Brady out of Mac Jones. No, people like Tom Brady come along once in a lifetime. And to recognize that would have been to his advantage when he looked at Mac Jones. It's like, do you really believe that Mac Jones could be that guy? You would have thought that Bill Belichick would have been looking at a successor to Brady. I mean, a realistic one. Because you look at Mac Jones. I mean, I like Mac Jones. He's not a terrible quarterback, but he doesn't have the arm strength as most elite quarterbacks have. He doesn't necessarily make all the throws. He can't throw the deep ball. He's not athletic. He's smart, and he can make decent throws, but he's not great by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's an average quarterback, and I think Belichick has made a mistake in investing the Patriots' future in a guy that simply is not that guy. But I think the game has passed him by as well. Uh, but Bill Belichick, you hate to see him go out like this. It's like
Yeah.
this has just become a very sad story for one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen. I don't take anything away from Bill Belichick, but the longer, guys, this continues, you can't avoid not looking at the Brady and Belichick comparison. And at this point, Brady wins resoundingly over the argument of who was the reason they won. Right now. It looks like it was Tom Brady. We're going to move on and look at some other headlines in the NFL. We're going to look at the Power Five in the NFL, starting with the AFC. I have them as follows: the Kansas City Chiefs, number one in the AFC, followed by the Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the Ravens. Stu, your thoughts?
Um, can't really argue with that. I
Okay.
mean, one thing I say is you know, the Ravens, you want the Ravens at 4 and the Jaguars at 5, or vice versa. It's kind of a you pick them type of thing, but they're both 4-2 teams.
Yeah.
Jacksonville started off slow, but they're been playing great football lately, so I'm fine with everything on that list. I think the Chiefs are 5-1. They're not playing their best football, but again, that's the scary part about them is they're not playing their best ball and they're still winning. So when they start to play their best ball, they're going to be that much harder to beat. Did you have the Dolphins
At two.
at 2? Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Caleb, your thoughts on this list?
Yeah, definitely. Jaguars are looking pretty good. So are the Ravens. The Bills have been performing pretty underwhelmingly, but I'd put them over those two teams. They're the better team. And the Dolphins, the Chiefs, they've started to separate themselves. They're looking pretty good. And yeah, I completely agree with that.
So I think if you look at the Chiefs right now at 5-1, they are the defending Super Bowl champs. You got to go ahead and give them that, and then after the Dolphins, I think it's kind of like you pick them. I mean, right now, I mean, I'm giving the Bills respect and putting them at 3 based on what we believe they are, but they haven't proven that yet. They haven't proven they're any better in Jacksonville or Baltimore, quite frankly and honestly.
Yeah.
But we're going to switch over to the NFC, and I have the top five in the National Football Conference as follows. The 49ers remain number one. The Lions move up to two, followed by the Eagles, Cowboys, and Rams. Stu, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can play around with either the Eagles at 2 or Detroit at 2. It's one of those things. But other than that, I think it's pretty much squared away. The Rams, I think the Rams are going to be a tougher team right now because with Cooper Cup coming back, and then
Yeah.
with the rookie in it now, was making it tougher as the Rams are starting to run the ball, starting to establish a run and become a complete offense to where you have to stop the run and worry about the pass. So I agree. I agree with that list.
Caleb, your thoughts on this Power Five for the NFC?
Yeah, the as you said, Stu, the Lions and the Eagles are pretty interchangeable right now. Both teams are pretty playing good football. And yeah, I agree with this list.
I'll tell you right now, I think the Lions are, and I mentioned at the onset of the show, whether or not maybe these guys are the new big dogs in the NFC. I don't think the Lions have played a game other than the loss against the Seahawks, where you kind of went, wow, they barely got by that one. I mean, they've taken care of business against the teams they're supposed to take care of business against, whereas the Eagles have not done that. And I think the Eagles are kind of a fading, third spot. Clearly, they're better than Dallas and the Rams. But if the Eagles are not careful, they're going to lose a couple of more ball games, in my opinion. But I think the Lions are coming. Detroit's coming, and I think part of the reason they're going to continue to rise is because it's hard for people to get the losing optic out of their brains. No, these guys, these are the Lions, and then all of a sudden, they've laid you out on the mat for the 10 count. We're going to go to the NFL Power 5, and I have them listed as follows. The 49ers remain number 1, followed by the Lions, Chiefs, Dolphins, and Eagles. Stu, your thoughts?
Um, I would definitely put the Chiefs over the Lions.
Okay.
And to be honest, I'll put the Dolphins over the Lions too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Dolphins are what 5-1.
Yeah.
I think that.
I think they're 4-2.
Let me see.
You know what? No, you're right. They're 5-1.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick either the Lions or the Dolphins on my schedule, I would probably pick the Lions. I like the Lions. They're sitting at the big boys table, but the only thing I give them a little asterisk is their strength of schedule. I just had to go back and look at their schedule and see, like, okay, let me see. It's like, okay, you got maybe a tough game with the Ravens. Then you got the Raiders, the Chargers, the Bears, the Packers, the Saints, the Bears, the Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, and then the Vikings. I mean, they could pretty much run the table with that, if they wanted to. And their strength of schedule is not as bad as some of these other teams. That's why I will put Miami in front of them, and I will put the Chiefs in front of them just because they're 5-1. Even though that first game, but I think as the season progresses, once we get into the winter months and the good teams really start to emerge and separate from the pack and start playing their best football, that's when I'm gonna be looking at and seeing how the Lions are going to continue to move on doing what they're doing.
Caleb, your thoughts on this NFL Power 5?
Yeah, I would put the Chiefs at number 2 as well. I would leave the Dolphins as is, but I put 49ers, Chiefs, then Lions. Because I feel like the Chiefs are more of a proven team. As you said, it might be that losing tick that we still have a little bit for the Lions. But the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions right now. And I think they're the better overall team uh, as of roster and uh, things of that nature. So I'd have to put them over the Lions for right now.
So I've yet to see the Kansas City Chief team that I witnessed on a number of occasions last year. The offensive firepower is missing. And when you look at the inner workings of their team, the offensive coordinator is no longer Eric Bieniemy, as you well know, but it's Matt Nagy, who was fired as head coach of the Chicago Bears for what? An anemic offense. And you have to remember the Lions went into Arrowhead and won, and they're both 5-1. So head to head, I think you got to give that to the Lions. And then you look at the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins, yeah, they're 5-1, but the Dolphins are what I would call a finesse team. They got a lot of eye candy, you got a lot of speed, but they won't hit you in the mouth though. You can hit them in the mouth and they'll back down. The Lions will hit you in the mouth, and they're 5-1. That's just my reasoning on that. It's apples and oranges. They're all 5-1, but that's my particular reason for going with the Lions as the number 2 team in the NFL. I can't stand the Lions. They're in my division. They're stomping on my Packers this year. I don't want to give them props, but I wouldn't be fair as a football fan if I did not grade them honestly. They're hitting people in the mouth, man. They can do that. And they haven't been blown out by anybody. But I'll tell you one more thing about this. I'll tell you right now, Travis Kelce and this girl, Taylor Swift. Let me tell you something. Travis Kelce better start thinking about football because I'm not seeing the dominance on that offensive side of the ball. I'm not seeing it. And so I'm just not giving them their props right now in the grand scheme of things just because they're Kansas City. They got to start playing some football. So that being said, this is the big boy table, and they do have a seat there. So we're going to leave that alone. That's my reasoning on that particular list. Let's look at the games that we have coming up this weekend in the NFL. And as we always do, we're going to start this thing out as we have week 7 coming up. It's a Thursday night game. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 8:15 on Prime Video take on the New Orleans Saints. I don't think there's a whole lot of reason for discussion on that one. On Sunday at 1 o'clock, the Raiders take on the Chicago Bears. You talk about a yawner, dude. Anyway, and then also at 1 o'clock, the Cleveland Browns take on the Indianapolis Colts. Not a lot of reason for discussion on that. The Bills go to New England. You would expect the Bills to smash New England. Then we have a 1 o'clock game in New York, an NFC East battle between the Commanders and the Giants. I'm going to stop for a moment on that one and say I think the Giants are better with Tyrod Taylor. I really do. That being said,
like it.
What was that, Caleb?
It's looking like it.
I think he's a better option. I think the Commanders and the Giants are going to have a real Donnybrook. This is going to be a back alley brawl, as they always are. I just think that's going to be one of the more intriguing games of the weekend. Stu, your thoughts on the Commanders?
Yeah, most definitely. Being a division matchup like that and in New York, the Giants are going to definitely give their best shot, and the Commanders, they really can't afford to lose this game. They got their win last this week against Atlanta.
Yeah.
And this is a divisional game. You gotta win this game. I believe the Commanders have the better roster, the better talent. I believe they're the better team, but they cannot play down to the Giants. They have to go in there and handle business on the road against a New York team that's just trying to play spoiler and trying to grasp anything they can get. And I think Saquon's back now, so they're going to be a little better. And I think that they are better with Tyrod Taylor. I think he's way better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
They should have paid him if they was going to pay somebody, But I think I'm picking the Commanders to win, but they need to definitely buckle their chin straps up, and it's going to be one of those hard-hitting football games.
No question about it. Your thoughts on the Commanders?
The Commanders, usually they go out and play real good football when it's within their division. Against pretty good teams like the Eagles and even the Cowboys, if you want to call them a good team. They usually buckle up their chin straps. They come play great football, and if the Commanders do that against the Giants, I feel like they should have a pretty easy win. But you can't come out there pity-pattying at all. So as long as they go out there, play hard-nosed football, they should be able to come out with the win.
There's no question about it. I think the Commanders should be able to find a way to win this one. At 1 o'clock on Fox, the Atlanta Falcons travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. I think we kind of know that these are pretty mediocre teams. After we saw the Lions just grab the Bucks and just pick them up in the air and say, "Who told you to get off that porch and run with the big dogs?" Anyway, let's look.
That's my bite. At the Debo.
Yeah. But let's keep going. So Detroit take. Oh, the game maybe of the weekend will be Detroit taking on the Ravens at 1 p.m. in Baltimore on Fox. Stu, your thoughts?
Man, that's what I'm talking about. That's going to be a great test for the Lions. The Ravens are feeling it after their winning in the UK. The Ravens are at home, um, but it's a tough Detroit team that's coming in there. That can go either way. I believe that truly this is a 50-50 game. This is a measuring stick game to see who's really about that life, who's really that team, and I'm gonna have to take I'm gonna have to take Detroit, man. I think Detroit is playing better ball overall right now, and I'm really going to see if they're really going to go in there and take care of business on the road in Baltimore at the Ravens Stadium.
Caleb, your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I'd have to take the Lions too. Baltimore hasn't been playing the best football as of late. Those receivers, hopefully they went and took some time this week, got their stuff together because they were not helping Lamar Jackson at all this weekend, and hopefully they can put up a better game, help Lamar go out there, make this a fun game to watch. But I'm gonna take the Lions going in and winning this game,
I
showing up.
totally agree with both of you. Again, the Lions are a physical bunch, and Lamar Jackson doesn't like physicality. He doesn't like to be hit too much and doesn't like being pressured. And that's exactly what the Lions are going to do. And they've got offensive punch. I like Detroit in this matchup as well. I agree with the both of you on that. The rest of the games on Sunday at 4:05. We've got the Steelers going to LA to take on the
Mm.
Rams. At 4:05, we've got the Cardinals and the Seahawks on Fox. That's another divisional matchup that's always pretty interesting. At 4:25, Green Bay travels to Reliant Stadium to take on the Denver Broncos. The only thing I can say in this game is Green Bay, you better win. You
Yeah.
better win the ball game. That's the only thing I got to say about that. I don't think there's any more room for too much more commentary about that. You better win the ball game. Anyway, let me keep going. At 4:25, the Chargers and the Chiefs get together.
Mm.
And that's going to be another good matchup. But the Chargers look like a team that's full of hijinks and will find a way to give KC the win. On Sunday night, the game of the weekend, in my opinion, is Miami traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, 8:20 p.m. on NBC. Stu, your thoughts on this matchup?
Man, I definitely think this is the game of the week.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts cannot give a mediocre performance because that Dolphins offense. Now Philly has a good defense, but once that Dolphins offense gets started, they can be tough to deal with and they can run up the score quick.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of those situations to where Hurts and company are going to have to score points. All this, winning by 3 and all this other stuff. You're going to have to put some points on the board when Miami is up there because you can only hope to contain those guys, Tyreek Hill and company. There's so much speed on the field
Yeah.
at all different levels.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Eagles just signed Julio Jones. It's a great veteran presence. He's not what he used to be, but that could assist. He's not going to get the number one corner anyway, but that could assist to them scoring some more points, getting their firepower going. But man, um, shoot, I'm gonna take the Dolphins. I'm taking away teams this game. I think they're playing better ball right now, even though the Eagles may be the better team later down the road. But I think right now the Dolphins are playing better ball and they're equipped to go into Philly and get it done.
Caleb, your thoughts on this Titan matchup?
I feel like if the Dolphins can go into this game and really show us what they're about, beating Philly, I people are gonna start taking them more seriously. Might start putting them at that one, maybe two at that two spot, maybe in the NFL, and it's gonna be a real good game to show what both of these teams are about. See if Philly can come back out there and show us that the team that we expect them to be. But this is gonna be a really good game. I feel like the pressure is more on Philly's side to go out and win this. So I but I'm gonna take the Dolphins also. They've been playing really good football. Like you said, they can run up the score if you don't watch out. So I'm gonna take them away, but it's gonna be a real good game.
Yeah, and I'm going to go the other way on this one and go with the Eagles. I just like the physicality they bring to bear. And as I mentioned earlier, I think Miami is a finesse team, and they don't like getting hit in the mouth. And that's exactly what the Eagles are going to do. So you can come out there with that speed and, high flying offense all you want to. Once you eat some turf a couple of times, you're going to slow down a little bit. And it tends to affect the Dolphins when they get into a bare knuckle fight. They don't fare too well. And that's exactly the kind of fight they're going to be in with Philadelphia. Plus, they're going to be angry after losing to the Jets. The Dolphins don't have the kind of defense that can slow Jalen Hurts down. The Jets did. They hit Jalen Hurts in the mouth. They made him, you know, suffer back there trying to find a. That's not going to happen with Miami. So should be a good game. Best matchup of the weekend by far, and Miami could very well win it. But I'm going to stick with the Eagles on this one. I think they'll bounce back. And the last game of the weekend will be on Monday night as Stu, your San Francisco 49ers, travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. We don't need to talk about that. We already know what's going to happen. So we're going to step out of here on that. I got the 49ers going in there and stomping a mud hole in the Kirk Cousins Vikings. They should have lost and would have lost to the Bears had Fields not gotten injured in that. They don't have Justin Jefferson. As a matter of fact, I hope they have the fire department's number. Anyway, we're going to step out of here on that, guys. This has been a great show. Can't wait for the weekend, guys. This is going to be one of the more entertaining. There are a couple of other good matchups. The Ravens and Lions is going to be a good one. So should be a good week at college football, all that stuff. So until next week, everybody, may the peace of the Lord be with you guys. Stu and Caleb, may the peace of Christ be with you and your families, and we'll see you next week. God bless.